Nearly 2 years after the bloody uprising against President Bashar al-Assad began, Syria's main opposition group has now been officially recognized by the United States. The move was announced by President Barack Obama as a group of more than 100 leaders set off for Morocco to issue a declaration naming the National Coalition of Syrian Revolutionary and Opposition Forces as the main and sole legitimate representative of the country. Now, in that declaration, world leaders warned Assad that if he uses biological or chemical weapons, it will be met with a, quote, serious response. Indeed, what's keeping up U.S. officials and Israeli officials late into the night are fears about what Assad might do with what's considered to be one of the largest stockpiles of chemical weapons in the world. Over the last 2 decades, it's believed Syria's production of various deadly agents may have reached as much as a few hundred tons per year.
This stockpile consists also of mustard gas and also of sarin gas, and also it's thought to consist also of the very advanced VX and very deadly VX nerve gas. So these are the main components of this stockpile, which is considered to be very substantive indeed.
Syria always denied having chemical weapons until the ever-deepening civil war provoked an admission. Syrian leaders recently threatened to use them against foreign aggressors who dare to intervene in their domestic troubles. But the West worries that as Assad continues to lose control over his country, his desperation to remain in power may drive him to act recklessly. Some worry he may fire rockets with warheads containing deadly agents on Turkey, Jordan, or Israel. Others fear Assad could use chemical weapons against his own people, following the example of what Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein did back in the 1980s. But some experts believe Assad won't dare to use his array of chemical weapons due to warnings from the U.S. that this would cross a red line.
I think Bashar knows that were he to do so, he would trigger almost certainly Western military intervention into Syria, which would then mean the end of his regime.
Assad may not want to sign his own death notice, but when he eventually goes down, as many expect, other dangerous scenarios arise.
The thing to be concerned about is the possibility that as the country becomes more and more ungovernable, so this stockpiles could potentially fall into the hands of terrorist organizations. As far as I understand it, that in fact is what Western governments, including Israel, are most concerned about.
Many jihadi groups are operating in Syria, including al-Qaeda. If they took control of chemical weapon stockpiles, they could use them against Western, especially American targets around the world. There's no shortage of anti-Israel terrorist groups inside Syria. Hezbollah is probably the most dangerous because it already has thousands of rockets in southern Lebanon that can hit the Jewish state.
If chemical weaponry were to be handed over to Hezbollah, it's very clear from an Israeli point of view this would be a cause for Israeli intervention. Israel has made clear if that starts to look like it's about to happen, Israel will intervene to prevent it.
Unlike the differences in thresholds and timelines when it comes to Iran, Israel and the U.S. seem to be on the same page on pursuing military action in Syria if chemical weapons fall into the wrong hands. Israeli and U.S. intelligence agencies are reportedly cooperating in tracking the movements of Syria's tons of deadly agents, which are stored mostly in the south of the country. Israeli sources reported that some chemicals were recently moved and possibly put on warheads. Israel has already reportedly asked Jordan for permission to use its airspace for a future attack on Syria. The U.S. has special forces stationed in Jordan, the launching pad for any ground invasion to secure chemical weapon facilities. In Israel, citizens are taking no chances. Over the last few months, they've been picking up state-supplied gas masks for their families. The Israeli army has also recently acquired tens of thousands of doses of a drug used to combat nerve agent chemical poisoning and will distribute them to all combat medics in the coming months. Jordana, JN1, Jerusalem.